Okay, so check this out. We've managed to get our hands on some recently declassified technical documents, and what they describe is, well, it's pretty wild. It's for a piece of tech called the Chrono Visor. And get this, they call it a radar for future distractions. What does that even mean? Let's dive in.
So that image on the left, yeah, that probably looks painfully familiar, right? It's the old paradigm. It's basically our lives. We are constantly in reactive mode, our attention getting shattered by this storm of notifications that's already hit us. But then you look to the right. That suggests a completely different way of thinking. It's not about filtering the storm, it's what they call a causal radar, a way to see the storm coming before it even forms.
And this really gets to the heart of what the document calls the problem of now. Think about it. Our entire digital existence is built on reacting to things after they've happened. We're not preparing for the information flood, we're already neck deep in it, just trying to tread water. Which, of course, leads to this one massive, kind of mind-blowing question. What if you could actually detect the future? Now, we're not talking about predicting who's going to win the big game. We're talking about sensing the arrival of that digital flood before it hits. And here it is. According to this engineering brief, the project status is officially declassified. This is the Chrono Visor, and they're very specific about its function. It's not a receiver or a blocker, it is a causal radar. So let's be really clear here. This isn't just a smarter way to manage your notifications. No, the core concept is way bigger than that. They're claiming it's a radar for time itself. It supposedly works by monitoring the tension of the network around you, kind of like sensing the ripples in a pond before the stone has even touched the water. So how is that even possible? Well, the entire device hangs on this one pretty out there scientific principle they call the negative entropy anomaly. The theory goes that future data, like a big email chain about to land, casts a sort of shadow backward into the present. And this shadow does something really, really weird. It causes random, chaotic noise to suddenly organize itself into a coherent pattern. That sudden shift is the signal that something's coming.
All right, I know, it sounds like science fiction. So how on earth does a physical piece of hardware actually sense something like a future shadow? Let's pop the hood and get into the engineering that supposedly makes distraction predictable.
This chart just illustrates the concept perfectly. What the device is actually listening for is a transition. On the left, you see pure thermal noise. It's total chaos, right? Just static. But then it detects a shift. Look at the right. That randomness suddenly snaps into an organized, structured pattern. That is the negative entropy event. That's the moment chaos becomes order. And it's the telltale sign that something is on its way.
The hardware is built on something called the Causal bridge architecture, which sounds super complicated, but really it boils down to a pretty simple four-step process. First, an antenna array senses the raw data. Second, a sensor cluster analyzes it, looking for that specific drop in chaos. Third, the core logic processes the findings. And finally, if the conditions are met, the output system sends an alert. Sense, analyze, process, alert.
So the crucial part is the trigger. How does it know when to actually sound the alarm? Well, the logic is surprisingly simple. The system is constantly calculating the level of randomness or entropy in the noise it's hearing. If that entropy suddenly drops, if the delta, as they call it, crosses a specific threshold they've named the Causal constant, bam, it flags what's called a turbulence event. And that's the signal.
And what does a turbulence event actually get you in the real world? 3. As in 3 minutes. The documentation is really, really clear about this. This device gives you a maximum 3-minute head start before the digital wave hits. They even state, and I'm quoting here, "We do not predict lottery numbers, we predict interference." Okay, so we've covered the wild theory and the nuts and bolts engineering. Now let's talk about what it's actually like to use this thing. Let's walk through what they call the user journey, from that first little hint of the future to actually preserving your focus.
So the device basically has two main modes. Most of the time, it's in state A, what they call the hollow state. Everything's calm, the time stream is stable, nothing to see here. But then it flips. It jumps to state B, the precognition alert. A temporal anomaly has been spotted, and a countdown begins. Impact in 2 minutes and 58 seconds.
Now, when that alert triggers, it's not just a light on a screen. The user gets a haptic Geiger click. You literally feel the anomaly, and that's your cue to act. You reach over, you hit the physical kill button, and that instantly severs your connection, raising what they call a physical firewall. And this right here is the ultimate payoff. Your attention is preserved. A few minutes after that alert, the notification storm absolutely hammers your phone, but it all happens silently. You are shielded, you are deep in your work, completely focused. Your attention was never broken because your defense was up before the attack even began.
Which brings us to this final, really powerful statement that I think just perfectly sums up the whole project. It doesn't predict the future. It predicts distraction. It's a tool designed not for seeing what's to come, but for protecting your focus, right here in the now. And it kind of makes you wonder, what other invisible forces are out there shaping our attention every single day?